So here's everything that you're going to need, okay? The pattern pieces, we'll start there for the sew along. So you are going to need pattern piece number 1 for view D, and it is the bodice front. Make sure to copy all the markings. Cut on fold, the little snips. You are going to need pattern piece number 5, the simplicity, the bodice back. You're also going to need piece number 14. And this is the shorts or pants back. And you're also going to need piece number 13, which is the pants or shorts front. Put that off to one side. Now these are the pieces that you're going to want to cut with a different fabric, and as we sew along you'll see why. This is pattern piece number 2, and it's size 7, and you cut 1 on fold. This is pattern piece number 6. This is the piece where you're going to attach the buttons. You are going to need you're also going to need pattern piece number 4, and you're going to cut 2 of these. A lot of small pieces, you know. You're going to need pattern piece number 11, the waist tie ends. And this is the last piece. I think this is pattern piece number 9. I just didn't end up writing it on here, but I think it is. It's the casing, and you cut 1 on fold, okay? Those are the main pattern pieces that you're going to need. Now, the next step is the elastics that you'll need. This is the one that I chose. It is 1-inch elastic, and it is for pattern piece number 10. And this is just the waist elastic guide. But because my daughter is on the smaller side, she does have a very small frame, I did cut this super short just so that the jumper will fit her at her waist. The next elastic piece that you will need is the neck elastic. This is again the guide, and I did end up cutting it shorter. This is a little shy off a full inch shorter, but this is the elastic guide, and this you will need. And again, I chose the same elastic, the 1-inch for the neckband. The next one you'll need is pattern piece number 7. This is the back elastic guide. This is pattern piece number 7. And again, I cut it just a little bit shorter, and I used a thinner one because that's what the pattern, I believe, recommended. The next thing you're going to need is you're going to need bias tape. And this is just what I used. I honestly didn't really understand this step. I honestly don't understand this step, but this is what I used, and it worked, and it doesn't show. The next step that the next things you'll need is some buttons to go with your fabric. I didn't know which of the 2 buttons to choose from, so I just ended up purchasing both. And by the time I'm done, I'll hopefully make my mind up for which set I would like to go on her little romper. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mark all of my pattern pieces so that we can go ahead and start sewing. We are going to take pattern piece number 6, and I have already placed all of my markings. There we go. And we are also going to take pattern piece number 5, the bodice back. We are going to open up the bodice back going to go ahead and put this right in the middle. Trick is am not able to iron my fabric, but you, depending on what fabric you choose, you will be able to iron it. I decided to use kind of like this shiny fabric. It's shiny and stretchy. That's all I can tell you. I bought it at Savers. And I just make sure that it's right in the middle, and we are going to stitch this down. We're gonna go ahead and take this to the sewing machine and sew down. All right, and it is sewn. You can also go ahead and do a basting stitch here, but I'm not going to do that just because I personally think that I'll be all right. And I did go a little bit too low here, so I'm just going to trim just a little bit. I'm not gonna unstitch it. I'm just gonna trim. It's okay. To me, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. But if you are a perfectionist to the T, you might want to make sure that that's tacked at the top. Now, the next step is to flip it over. Now, the next step is to create a casing. So you're just going to fold 5/8 of an inch. So it has to be the slightest little fold over, and then there. See that? So let me go ahead and do that on while I press the seam. So this is what it should look like pressed. It doesn't say, but I am going to sew 3/8 of an inch. So the presser foot of my machine is gonna go here, and I'm going to sew right here as close as I can to the edge. So I'll be right back. Okay. So I wanted to go ahead and show you on a different scrap because I did not record a lot of the bodice. This is scrap. This is not real. I'm just going to show you what I did on the parts that I missed, that I forgot to press the record button. Okay? Okay. This is the back piece where the buttons go right here. The little yellow, where the little thing goes right here. Okay? So this should have already been sewn on, and you should already have this piece, and this is what it looks on the inside. Go ahead and grab your safety pin, push it through, or whatever tool you use, and we're just gonna tuck it in and push it through. Vamos, vamos, vamos. And when you see that it's getting right about there, we're going to go ahead, just put in a little bit more. Okay, now when I see it like that, this is where I pin so that it doesn't go in any further, and I can actually just end up wrinkling it through like so, just like that. And this is what it should look like. Yours will have a little thing in the middle where the buttons go, and then all you're going to do is sew this side first. You're just gonna stitch here and pull this out just a little bit more and stitch here. So this is the back casing, the back bodice piece. This is what it looks like. Very pretty, I know. The elastic is all sewn in. Now you're going to grab the front bodice piece. So this is going to go on the little person's front. This is the top, okay? This is the chest. So we're gonna go ahead and go here. And it's facing you. The pretty side is facing you. You are looking at the pretty side. And now you're going to match your notches. Matching your notches is very important. If you think to yourself that you can sew forever without matching a notch, I'm just going to tell you right now, stop and start cutting and marking your pieces and your fabric, because it will save you time, it will improve your sewing skills, and it will just help you all around. So don't skip the notch step, don't skip the grain line or cutting your fabric against the grain. Those little things are very important and will make your sewing a lot more crisp and clean. So don't do that, okay? So don't skip it. Some things you can skip, notches, clipping notches is not one of them, or the grain line. We are going to start sewing right here, okay? We are gonna leave this part, the elastic, loose, and we are going to put down our presser foot and start here and go in 5/8 of a seam, okay? This next part confuses me a little bit, so I kind of just winged it. I basically just put this here and I measured it. Okay, and then I just cut a little bit more, just a little bit, because sometimes, you know, and then grab another piece. I'm going to explain it, just give me a chance to show you first so that it all makes sense. I don't know if I'm doing it right, so take my tip with a grain of rice. This is the front piece. So this is the front piece. This is the where the arm goes. You see that? It's the curve. And I am going to just sew, or let me pin. Let me start from the bottom. And I'm actually going to tuck it underneath here, just because I think it will give it a cleaner look. See? So that's basically what I do, and then I'm gonna do it on this side. And again, I'm doing this on purpose, okay? I'm not doing it like this where I can fold it and have it there. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm purposely putting it face down, and you'll see why. And now I'm going to go ahead and sew this. So let me go sew it, and let me show you guys why I do this, okay? Okay. Okay, so this is the top, okay? This is the same. I just want to show you guys what I did. Again, I forgot to press the record button. So this is what it should look like. Okay, this is going to be the outside. This is the inside. And all you're going to do is fold this in and sew it down. Also, real quick, so this is what it looks like when it's sewn, and this is the back. All you're going to do is connect this like this and fold this over all the way up, and now it's no longer showing. See that? And then we're going to go ahead and sew it over like this, so that when this is the outside, the inside, and the elastic. See that? And now the back and the front are connected. So this is what it looks like on the outside right now. Not pretty, not connected. Boom, boom, boom. Bam. See that? That's gonna look cute, right? Nice and clean. Okay. So this is it, a nice clean-ish seam. It's not super clean, at least not this version, simply because this is a muslin. Okay, so keep that in mind. She's not actually going to wear this. And now we're going to go ahead and attach the neckband. And the instructions say to sew it like this. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So then the right side of the neckband goes to the wrong side of the bodice, which means we're just going to pin it. I'm gonna go ahead and sew this. Here I just sewed this piece. Okay, this is the right side of the band and the wrong side of, what is this? The bodice. I did have to use tissue paper for this part simply because I went ahead and folded this over. So this is the neckband on the wrong side, on the right side of the neckband, sewn on the wrong side. So when you fold it over, it looks like this. We go ahead and trim that. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold it just a little bit and then over. And that's what's going to give you this, okay? See that? So I'm going to go ahead and pin it and sew this. Do not sew this straight. Do not do that. No, no, no. This is the casing for the elastic to go through. Yes, we are going to put an elastic in here. So do not sew this shut, okay? We're just gonna sew as close as we can to the end here, okay? Okay, so now we went ahead and now that the neckband is sewn on, we can put that to the side and work on the strap. So this is going to be pattern piece number 4. Yours will be marked. Mine is not marked. You guys know why. And we're going to fold them in half like this. And again, I actually didn't really understand this part, but this is how I did it. And if anybody out there, if anybody out there knows how to sew this part and can refer me to a video, that would be great. So all that we are going to do is we're going to sew 3/8 of an inch. So very, very close to the end, okay? So we're just gonna sew starting from about here, and we're just gonna sew down. And it's going to be, you know, like legit 3/8 of an inch, so very close to the end. So let me go sew it and show you guys. Now that we sewed the straps, we need to turn them inside out. So just take a safety pin or whatever it is that you use and turn it inside out. Now we need to get the elastic. So this is the elastic. Ignore that. That's a previous mark. It's a mistake. Ignore it. And what I do is I go ahead and tuck this part in like this. And I tuck this in here. And I pin. And now I go here and I go with the straight edge and I tuck that in, and again I tuck this part in and I pin. And now what we're going to do is we're going to sew this down. And I'm also going to sew this part. All I do is tuck it in and sew it and move on. Okay, so I went ahead and sewed it. It's all sewn. Okay, and we're just gonna grab one end. Doop, doop, doop. I'm sure you can make this look a lot cleaner than I did. And we're just gonna tuck it in and just pull it through. And that's the front bodice. And you are done with these steps. You can go ahead and remove the safety pin. And now the next step is go ahead and grab your casing, which is pattern piece number 9. And you are going to go ahead and remember to cut this one on the fold, and you are going to sew the ends first, and I'll show you a clip now. So I went ahead and sewed that. If you see some orange, it's just because I used tissue paper, not to worry. If you are not using tissue paper and fabric is getting stuck, I highly recommend you use that. Now we're going to take this again, and we are going to start from the back, okay? We are going to match the back notches. So here we go. The back notches don't need to be folded over. You can just sew straight, but make sure that the top stays folded because we want a nice clean finish. When you do this, there's my marking for my buttons. Make sure you don't cover this, okay? So try to line these up as best as you can and do not cover the button marking. If you cover it, you can just do 2 buttons, but the pattern calls for 3. You can adjust however you need to, but don't cover that because I think a button would look cute there because there's going to be stitching here. So I'm pinning the top and the bottom at the same time just because it's easier for me. And now we can go ahead and take it to our sewing machine. This is a casing, so remember not to sew this part. If you're wondering what this is, it's tissue paper, just so that my fabric didn't get stuck. It's not gonna stay there forever, but it doesn't look bad. And this is what it looks like. So stitch around it like this, and then leave this open because the next step is actually to work on the pants. Okay, so I'm gonna stitch this and be right back. Okay, so now that we sewed the inner seam, we can go ahead and start by throwing this here, and now we can do this. Okay, just like this. Remember, the back piece has 3 notches. The front piece for the shorts has 2. So this is the front and this is the back. This is bigger than this one. You can see it, okay? Now, the back, now we're going to put this one facing it. And again, 3 notches are in the back piece, so we can start by matching our notches. It's gonna take you a minute, that's okay. We are going to sew the U part, okay? This part. So you don't need to worry about this notch or this notch because this is what we're working on. This U, okay? So let's go ahead and pin it always starting at your notch. So when I put it in my sewing machine, the presser foot is gonna be right here, boop. And as I sew forward, I can pull it out. If the pin is this way, and I put the presser foot here, I have to jam it out. Does that make sense? So if you are sewing forward, make sure to put your pin this way so you can easily pull out the pin. The direction of which way you pin is important. If you don't want to do that, you can always do the side way, but I find it a lot easier and I find my garments a much better when I pin this way. It's just a preference, but if you do choose to pin this way, make sure to think about where your presser foot is gonna go and the direction of the way that you're sewing. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew this and I'll be right back. Now that we sewed it here, okay? All we're going to do is take one of the back, see that? Just one side and one side of the front and put them together. And this is going to be, and put them together, and now we have our shorts. Again, one more time. This is what it looks like. Can you see? Yes. This is what it looks like. Okay? Nice and flat. Right here. And all you're going to do is get one layer of the back piece, the top layer of the front piece, and just put them together like this, and now you have your shorts. Okay? So we can fix them, and these are your shorts. I know they look a little big, but bear with me. And we're just gonna turn them inside out. I'm grabbing them from the crotch. Okay, and let's just fix them. I hope this makes sense. So again, we were here, okay? We were here. I think this is going to be the longest. If you know how to do this, go ahead and fast forward. If you don't and you're following along, like for real following along, then stay with me. So again, the front and the back layer, just one, and we're just gonna connect them together, and now we have our shorts. Now we need to flip them inside out because we need to sew this seam. Okay, we need to sew the side seam. This seam right here, this is what we need to sew, but we're not gonna sew it this way because it's gonna be on the outside of the garment. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn it inside out. So you're just gonna take the entire front piece or back piece, whichever one, put them like this, grab it from the crotch area, and then just flip them inside out. And now they're inside out the exact same way. Do you see that? Does it make sense? Am I confusing you? Put it down in the comments so I can improve how you can follow along with me. Okay? And now what we're going to do is we're going to sew these. So you're going to grab your pin. You're going to match the notches first, and then you're going to continue to pin. Right. Now the other side. This is our shorts, and I'm going to go ahead and sew right along the side seams. So we now sewed the shorts. Again, that is tissue paper. You will probably not have that tissue paper, but we are done with the shorts. What do we do now, Melissa? Well, friend, let me tell you, okay? So again, this is the front side of the shorts. It has 2 notches. That means that this is the center seam of the front. The back side, this side, has 3 notches. That is why I keep mentioning it, and that's why this part is important, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and put the back on the back and put the front at the top, okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to put this just like this, but on the inside. Doop, doop, boop. Okay? Okay. So, we are going to grab you should have notches on your waistband. I'm sewing this again because I messed up my recording, so I don't have the notches on this one, but on my other but on the other romper that I sewed her, there is all the notches and it came out beautifully. So don't forget that. This is the inside of the shorts. This is the outside of them. When you put this inside like that and you match the notches, guess what? Right side of the shorts and right side of the top are now touching. Does that make sense? If this is your first time sewing this kind of garment, it's going to look weird, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go over it. And now it's just going to eat the top, okay? So it's just like it's eating it, okay? That means that the right side, okay, the inside of the shorts is now the right side of the shorts and the right side of the top are now touching, and that is how you're going to pin it. So match your notches, pin it, and then put it in all the way. Now we're going to do the side seams, right side of the side seams together, and now we're going to pin the other side of the right side of the other side of the side seams, and again we pin. And now the back notches, you should have notches all over this, and you should match all of your notches. And now as you pin all the way around and you match all of your notches, we are going to sew 5/8 of a seam. We make sure that you do sew 5/8 of a seam, okay? And I'm going to explain why. So you're sewing 5/8 of a seam about right here, because you have that waistband, that casing that you sewed at 3/8 of a seam. So you sewed the casing 3/8 of a seam on top of the top, and if you don't sew 5/8 of a seam, the seam is going to show, the stitching is going to show, and you don't want that. So when I pull this out, once I sew this across and I pull this out, the top and the bottom will be wrong side, and then I can turn it inside out and it'll be all sewn together. So let me tuck this back in, let me sew it, and that way you guys get the visual, okay? Okay, so I just sewed it across, and we can go ahead and just grab it from the inside and shake it all about. And then we're gonna turn it inside out and check it out. You have your romper. So right now we are not going to hem it. We are actually going to go ahead and work on the waist tie, which is similar to how we did the neckband. So all we're going to do is we're gonna take our pattern pieces. I believe it's pattern number 11. And then sew them down here. So we're going to sew them down here and then turn them inside out. So let me go do that, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the elastic. So now that these are sewn, I'm going to again grab a safety pin and turn them inside out. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your piece of elastic, you're going to fold, you're going to tuck this in just a little bit, and then you're just going to slide your elastic in. Just about an inch or so, and then you're going to pin it. Is this how I think you're supposed to do it? I have absolutely no idea, but this is how I sewed the first version of it, and I think it turned out pretty okay. So this is just how I'm gonna stick to it. So we're going to go ahead and just sew right here. And then you can actually go ahead and sew the ends in as well if you like. I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. So here we go. So it is now officially sewn. See? I just sewed it. It looks a little busted, but that's okay. Then I'm just going to take my handy dandy safety pin and push it through here. Alright, and it's done and it's even. I'm just gonna go ahead and put 2 knots on here so that it doesn't end up getting lost. And now I'm going to have my daughter try it on so that I can see where I need to hem it.